This is Glen. Am I talking to again? Sorry, I'm doing a few of these.
Hi. I'm Paul. I'm the producer. I'm just sort of setting you up.
Hello, Paul, the producer.
Nice to meet you. Just be 1 second and put you over, and I'll put Rich on, who is the host of the thing. So
nice one. Thank you for this. I really appreciate you coming on, Glen. But I really appreciate you taking the time. We did meet actually. We met. You wouldn't remember this. This was going back. It's one of John Hellier's nights. One of his days. I think it was like a Small Faces convention. Going back, and we were stood there. It was you, Dennis Greaves, and a couple of other people, and I was just stood there going, "Fucking hell." Glen Matlock and Dennis Greaves trying to be all, you're trying to keep it cool.
Do you know what? I just went round the corner to buy some hummus, and who was in the queue in front of me? Lulu.
No.
Everybody's got to be somewhere.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
And you know, funny thing, I'm mates with Ronnie Wood, who lives around the corner. He's got a big house, and he just bought another big house next door.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Lulu's, because Lulu, who's only little.
Yeah.
She's downsized.
Just lives in the shoebox now, bless her.
The thing I'm doing it on my phone is all these meetings keep popping up. Anyway, there you go.
Oh yeah. How you been anyway? You're back on the campaign trail, getting the music out there.
Yeah, I am soon. Yes, I've got about a dozen solo shows. An evening with Glen Matlock, which is what I'm doing in Tunbridge Road. And when's this going out?
This will go out today, probably.
Right. Well.
Yeah.
We are actually we're world exclusive. We're going to announce tomorrow the 100 Club on the 12th of November, Friday the 12th of November, band show.
Oh, amazing.
And I got a really good band
these
days. I've got, this is my sort of Bruce Springsteen kind of band. I got Neil Axe is playing guitar because Slick's in the States. Chris Mustard on drums, Jim Lowe, the Stereophonics producer on bass. I play rhythm guitar and sing. And my mate James Halliwell was a fantastic keyboard player.
Yeah, lovely.
Hammond player and stuff. And he plays with the Waterboys sometimes.
Yeah, right. See, that's what I like about you. And that's like going back. I mean, the Sex Pistols obviously always comes up, but you were always about the music. That was that's what it always seemed to me. Like when you.
Well, I tried to be. I mean, only the music. I subscribe to certain things that were said back then, but it seems to be these days certain things that were said by some people, they didn't necessarily mean them.
So, yeah, right. So authenticity is an issue. Do you think? Yeah, going back. Yeah, well, that was it, wasn't it? It was all. There was some big characters in the punk scene, and you think, most of them were probably just playing up to the image. Do you think?
I don't know what you think. What you think when you're younger?
Well, yeah, of course.
You either change or you become more entrenched in it. I think I've become more entrenched in it. I think we're living in funny times now.
Yeah.
I think my beliefs.
Well, yeah. Well, this is it. Yeah.
Politically, I mean, I don't know where you're at on things, but I think we're at a real crisis point in this country, and I'm fed up with it.
Yeah, definitely. This is it. We don't have any leaders really. No one knows what they're doing. No one gives a fuck about the people. And this is where that seems to be out where punk sort of sprung from. Like out of that, it was a similar sort of time, it seems, that where we're at now. Or it does seem a bit more fucked than it was back then.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the people who've got their own agenda, they're just kind of so brazen and unabashed about just throwing it in people's faces. That's, in a way, you could say that's more honest, but I don't know that it's what we want, really.
No. Well, it would have been. I remember my dad telling me that the world is corrupt from the top down, and I remember him telling me that when I was a kid. And I think back then, like back in like the the 60s and the 70s and all that, like you knew that politicians and that were up to no good, but you didn't know much about it. You didn't see it.
Oh, hang on, I made you disappear.
That's all right. That's all right.
Hang on a second. I was trying to get rid of something, and now. Where are you?
There you go. There? That's it. Hello.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I was just trying to get rid of
notifications.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah. It's all.
But now it's more, like you say, it's more in. We see what they're doing, and they are more brazen. They don't give a shit, do they? They're just doing it, and they're going, "Well, what are you going to do about it?"
And also, You know, it just shows you how many mugs there are in this country. You don't read between the lines. What I do take great stock from, though, is what happened with Trump in the States. So perhaps, you know, we always seem to follow the States. A couple of years later, we've gone down the Trump-esque path, but a couple of years later, he got slung out. So hopefully. We'll see.
Well, it's just funny. All the people that I see are spouting off with these prejudiced views, these right-wing views. I remember them as kids, and they didn't give a shit about music. I genuinely think that if they'd have been surrounded by decent music, their worldview would have been different. That's how it seems to me. I was brought up with all manner of music, reggae, punk, ska. It was all around.
Well, there you go. I mean, where I was fortunate enough, I'm born in Paddington. I lived up the Hour Road in Kensal Green.
Yeah.
When I went to school, it was practically, you know, it's top of Labatt roadway. It was one of the earliest second-generation immigrants, you know, who came over in Windrush kind of thing. There was Brixton and Kensal Green.
So very sort of
diverse.
And
my school, it was like half West Indian, half white. The only thing was when we were playing run-outs of British Bulldogs, something like that, somebody used to shout blacks against white, and how we beat us. I'm still mates with some of those kids. You know, there's a guy, Denzel Elaine, and he actually became quite a big deal ticket tout.
Oh, did he?
You go to a gig, and there's this black guy outside flogging tickets outside Amazon Odeon or Lords, where I live now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a bloke I used to go to infant school with.
Still working.
I like that. It's great. It's good. He's still keeping touch something well.
I like that. Still working the cobbles after all this time.
Yeah. So.
What do you make of all that, though, the touts and that? It was because when I was going to gigs when I was a kid, it was all part of it. I mean, I know it takes away money from the artists and that, but going up there and having to kind of you might get your tickets off the touts a bit cheaper, or do you know what I mean? You're working out deals.
Already started, you will do.
Yeah.
I mean, some. You know, I don't mind a little bit of ducking and diving, but I think in a way sometimes if you didn't have a ticket for a gig, that was the only way of getting one. If you really wanted to go, you know. So I think now though it's different when it's all online and somebody's doing Wembley and you're trying to get through. You know, you're stalking it like that.
Yeah. And
then it finally comes online, and all of a sudden all the tickets are sold out. How's that happen? That's not right, you know.
No, exactly.
I don't mind somebody making a pony on top of something to somebody you really want to go, but when people are you know, they've got sort of 10,000 tickets and they're scalping people.
Yeah,
that's different, you know. And booking fees. I mean, why does it cost £3.50 to go and see QPR?
Yeah.
Per person to buy a fucking ticket. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, it's organised crime, isn't it? That it gets to that level, it's proper criminal. Whereas
organised crime, you know, people say to me, "Oh, what about Elton John and all these millions?" You know, versus like a fat cat bloke who runs British Gas or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody has to go and see Elton John, but they want to.
Yeah.
Nobody really wants to have to pay gas, but they need it. That's the difference.
Yeah. But like you say, there's always the artists are always the last ones to make any wedge. Like especially now the music's online. Like it used to be you get bootlegs and all that when you were younger, but now it's all online. It's even you know, artists are making even less money. Like people like Spotify are making billions.
Yeah.
And how do you fight that?
To be honest, you know what I'm doing. I like playing gigs. I like doing the merch thing when it's safe to do so. I don't mind chatting to people when they're not too pissed up. The online thing it's a different generation kind of thing. And although I try and do it, you know, that my fans aren't necessarily that hip to it. So I don't really bother with it too much at the moment. I probably will do down the line.
Yeah.
But the rewards you get from it are minuscule. It's not something that I really kind of concern myself with.
Nah. Well, I suppose if you're
don't make it right, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's it. If you're making money, if you're making your money if you're able to, if you're getting by with the gigs and the live stuff, and actually,
I was though. I was up until COVID kicked in, but the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of work. I was off to the States, and I had a work permit which lasted till the end of last year. I was going to go and open up for the Dropkick Murphys, and I had a whole bunch of solo shows booked, and I was just going to hang out in the States, and then I was getting more offers coming in.
Yeah.
And I was quite happy doing that, and then I couldn't do any of that, so and then I was doing like online gigs on Facebook with Earl Slick, who got fucked with me, which was fun. You put up a little PayPal page, and then you end up with like £100 between the pair of you, from all these people who, we love it, they can't put their hand in it. Some people did, but not everybody.
No, I know. It's almost, people they don't understand that. They don't understand how much it costs to make an album. They don't because they don't want to pay for it. They're like, well, why should I pay for it? It's out there, and you're like, yeah, but the amount of effort, you have to book the studio, you have to buy the instruments, you have to write the songs, you have to get the musicians in, pay for their time, then you have to get the music packaged, and you have to get it out there, and it costs a fortune.
It does.
Yeah, and these people don't understand any of that, do they?
No.
And
give me 1 second.
All right, yeah.
I'll just something in the back of my mind that I'm not concentrating.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Don't go away.
All right.
Right. Right. Here we go.
All right.
Yes.
All good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was the girlfriend going sort of cut her off, and she was like, ooh. Right.
See, this is what you were talking about earlier. Like you said, everyone's got to be somewhere. Like Lulu in the queue at the shop, and like people, like you were in one of the biggest bands of the last 50 odd years, and you're still having, it's still everyday stuff.
Yeah,
I think
it was a long bloody time ago, though.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was.
I've just always been me, really. Hopefully, not too many airs and graces.
Well, that was what I read when I was reading up about it. I was just because I knew, obviously I know about you, but I was like just doing a bit of research before we had this chat, and one of the things that popped up, like the reason that you left the band was like, done with I couldn't be bothered with all the bollocks, and that's it, isn't it? All the bollocks gets in the way all the time.
So as half of it, there was stuff going on. Well, I suppose it would all come under the head and the bollocks, but it just became it became what it wasn't supposed to be in the first place. That's what I thought.
Yeah,
that's why I can't move on. But anyway, there you go.
Well, that's like with what I do. I'm a comedian by trade, and going around, I like making people laugh, and that's all I want to do, and that's why I do it. And people come to the shows, and we have a nice time. But there's other people now, they're jumping on bandwagons, and they're getting behind causes, and they're not getting behind causes because they actually give a fuck. They're doing it so that they feel it's going to elevate them, like and push them up. And so there's that authenticity kind of disappears. And I'm the same as you. I'm like, why be that way? Just be yourself.
Well, I think ultimately it does you a disservice in the long run, because I think people that can tell what's real and what ain't, and when they suss out, they don't just go off your bit, they go right off you.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, because it's unsustainable as well, isn't it? If you're full of shit, you're not going to keep that up. People are going to see through it eventually, aren't they? And I think that's how you be, like you say, like being true to yourself and just being who you are has kept you in good stead. It's kept you working with decent people because they've gone, because I'd rather work with him than some fake twat.
Yeah, maybe.
I imagine that's how I see it. I don't know.
Perhaps I'm too cheap.
Yeah, you got to up your prices a little bit. Well, something else.
You know what? I was fortunate. 6 or 7 weeks ago now, Ronnie Wood called me up. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm out for a drive." Why? And he said, "You want to do some bass?" And I went, "Yeah, where?" He said, "Around my house." He only lives around the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I could do it. I'll get back. And he said, he said, no, actually, think about it. I'm going to book the studio. So I went in the studio for a couple of days, playing with them and Kenny Jones on some older stuff. And I'm not going to say too much about it. But
no.
They're working on something. But towards the end of the evening, I was getting a bit hungry, and I thought, oh, fancy fish and chips. And it was a bit awkward. I couldn't just order fish and chips myself. So I said, I'm going to order fish and chips. Right. And does anybody want me to order anything? Well, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So next thing, from Mr. Fish in Queen's Park, I've ordered like 8 haddock and chips with curry sauce, right? And gherkins on the side and all that.
Lovely.
Turns up, count about 110 quid. Not one of the fuckers I fancy chips. And the next night we was playing, right, Ronnie would go, oh, I'm hungry. And I thought, oh, great, he's going to order fish and chips or something. I said, oh, yeah. And he said, yeah. He said, I'm going to go home and have dinner with Sally.
That's why he's a millionaire. He doesn't spend the fucking stuff, he spends yours.
Yeah. I don't know. It's funny.
But it's fun. But this is it. This just goes to show what sort of a person you are. You don't, I mean, yeah, it would have been nice if he'd fought out for it, but at the same time, you weren't expecting it. You just gone, oh, fuck it. All right, yeah, I'll get this in.
No, I weren't expecting it. It's been nice, though.
It would have been. Of course it would. But is it, because like, you've managed, you work, like, your mates with Ronnie and all these wonderful people, like you work with Clem Burke and all these.
I'm mates with Ronnie, but ish, it's Ronnie Woods from my all-time favourite band, Faces, Any Atmosphere and the Rolling Stones. And I did what I did, but he's sort of...
But you have moments where
a hero. There's stuff there. There's times when you feel you can say something to him, and times when you think, oh, I'm a little bit...
Yeah.
And he's 10 years older than me, so there's a respect thing. So you've got to kind of...
navigate it a little bit.
Yeah, but then last night, a mate of mine in the States, he used to work with the Faces a long time ago, and worked with Richard, moved to New York. He saw a thing come up with one of the Womack family, the mother.
Yeah, right.
Bobby Womack's ex-wife, who I think actually wrote All Over Now. And she wanted to go and see the Stones.
Yeah.
And he said, can you get this to Ronnie? And I was like, anyway, I wrote a little text out and sort of paraphrased this thing that had gone up, because I wanted to know anybody could help.
Yeah.
Because she'd never met Mick Jagger, even though she was involved with the song in some capacity.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I texted Ronnie. He got straight back to me. He said they'll sort it out. So
there you go.
But it's nice, and I kind of would have thought he would have done that for who it was. The woman's like 80 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I was just a bit cagey, whether I was pushing it a little bit. Not for me, but anyway.
Yeah. I know what you mean, but even that. So, like, people will look at you and who you are. And then, like you said, like then there's people that you look at and go, fuck, There's always, it just goes to show how human beings are, and no matter how successful we get, there's always going to be someone that you're looking at. Like, I know you're talking about Paul McCartney, and there's people I admire, and I know what you mean. There's still, even though you are who you are, there's still a little bit of you. It's like, oh, fucking hell, I can't. Oh, I don't know. It's a funny old thing, that, because you on my level, looking at you lot, going, you're all mates together. You're all like ringing each other up, going, oh, come and do this album, come and do this song.
Yeah, but not all the time though.
No.
I wish I did, but there you go.
But that's lovely. But then, and seeing you talk about Motown, talking about your favourite bass players, talking about Carol Kay and people like that.
James Jameson, my favourite right now.
People like that, and that's the thing, because when people associate you with punk, they go, "Oh, you must only listen to that sort of music, or that's the only thing." But don't realise that what makes you.
You know what? 10 years ago, I was in New York and I did Marky Ramone's.
Oh yeah.
Radio show for Sirius Radio in Rockefeller Plaza, and he introduced me, we were chatting, and he put a record on, and then people were texting in or something. Hey Marky, what's your favourite track? And he said, I haven't got the art to tell him I prefer the Shirelles. This guy,
But that's it.
I do have the art to tell them. I think it's for their own good.
Absolutely.
The oranges aren't the only fruit,
Yeah, well, that's it. That's what makes you a great musician, that you're interested in all kind of genres, aren't you?
I like rock. I like rock and I like roll, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
That's how it should be, isn't it? But when it was, you've had such an interesting career. It must have been because like I say, it is a sort of a mental health podcast in a way. It must have fucked with your head over the years, like the ups and the downs and ins and outs.
Yeah, I reckon it did. Not at the time, because you're kind of caught up in it. And when the Pistols thing kind of took off and the Bill Grundy show on the front page of the paper, it was a laugh, and you're living in this goldfish bowl, and you're a bit naive, you're young, and you kind of think that's what happens to bands. You don't realise until afterwards it don't happen to every band like that. But then there's nothing to sort of equip you for it, and then it changes the balance of people in the band and becomes a whole political kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then, when I fell out with the Pistols and walked, I went straight on to doing the Rich Kids thing. And that was kind of busy, and started getting a bit of, it's not the Sex Pistols. It wasn't supposed to be the fucking Sex Pistols. It was supposed to be something different. If I wanted to be like the Sex Pistols Mark II, I would have got some bloke with not the best voice in the world with a silly haircut. I didn't do that. I deliberately got Midge in the band.
Yeah.
Because I thought it would put the cat amongst pigeons, and that kind of worked for a bit. And then him and Rusty went to become New Romantics. I did a side project with Steve Strange, and that again split the balance of the band. They were right in a way. They sort of invented New Romantics, not my thing.
No.
Rusty kind of got involved with Kraftwerk, but I'd already been hip to all that. I thought it was kind of old, and they discovered it was something new. Yeah, and then I got a phone call to play with Iggy Pop, and then I was off doing that, and I didn't have time to think about it. No. And I did a couple of other things that didn't quite work out, and then the phone doesn't ring so much, and that's when it comes back and bites you, and you start doubting what you're doing and stuff, and then I used to drink too much. I don't drink anymore, and then you get a reputation and the phone doesn't ring, and then you have a bit more to drink than you would have done. And then people see you out and about looking a bit wobbly, and then the phone definitely don't ring. And then you think, that's when it starts catching up with you.
And that's so that's what I'm saying. Like you've had these incredible highs, and then these moments where you're like, fuck, is that it? Am I done? And then
but you know what? Incredible highs, they don't really seem like a high at the time. It's just something that you've been working towards doing, and now it's beginning to come off.
Yeah.
When I was in the Pistols first time around, we might have been on the front page of the papers and been on the telly, did shows, but like if there was 400 people there.
Yeah, right, really?
I mean, people think we were playing Wembley Stadium back then. No, we weren't. We did in 96 when we reformed.
Yeah.
Not Wembley Stadium, but, the equivalent all around the world, flying everywhere first class. But back then, I would have thought the biggest gig that we played was probably the Leeds Poly, was maybe 450 people there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, you don't really think you're the Cat's Whiskers.
Yeah, right. I suppose, it's all about how you're perceived, what we see on the outside.
Yeah, and I'm going to pull the rug under people's feet of what they think. And, I think we were jolly good, and we had something going for ourselves. But, we certainly weren't in Rolling Stones, Elton John territory back then.
No. How did it feel walking away after putting all that work in to the never mind the bollocks?
Well, it felt like a relief actually, because the balance had kind of gone, and I knew what I'd done, and I knew, like, especially Steve and Paul knew what I'd done, but they didn't back me up,
No.
And I thought, well, if they can't see that, fuck them.
Yeah, well, see that again.
And I think in the long run, I was kind of proved right, and now the wheel's gone full circle, and they will say, well, maybe we shouldn't have let Glen go,
Yeah, I saw. Again, like I say, I was reading up on a few bits, and I saw that. It's about like, saying that you wash your feet too much, or whatever it was.
Do you know where that comes from?
No, go on.
We did. Well, Amy and Steve used to share a place in Denmark Street. It was a real shithole, but a cool place, but a shithole. We had a sink with a washing up bowl.
Yeah.
So nowhere to wash. He would always go out. I'd wait for him to go out, and I'd have a wash down. He always seemed to come back when I was doing the bottom bit. But we hadn't he hadn't seen what I'd done in between, right? And it was just as well. And then we went to Paris to do the thing, and Ray Stevenson took some photographs, and they got B-days there, which we don't have here hardly.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of making a little joke about the Englishman abroad, didn't know what a B-day was.
Yeah.
And then it stuck,
Because now Steve's like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter what he does. We should have just let him. He washed his feet if he wants.
Yeah.
And that must have been hard, like you say, because you expected him to back you up and they didn't, and that must have been. I've been in a situation like that, and you go.
No, well, I don't know if I expected them to. I don't. No. It's just the way it went,
Yeah.
And would have been nice if they had done, but they. Keeping their heads down a bit with the Fuhrer,
Yeah, of course. What was it like getting back with them after all that time when you did that filthy lucre tour?
What was it like?
So what was that? It was all right. So was that 96?
Yeah, it was all a bit more grown up, and there's a big difference between getting on each other's nerves when you're sitting on the equipment in the back of a full transit that's got no windows in it.
Yeah.
And you're flying around the world first class, and you might not even get the same flight. You can afford to come to an accommodation with each other,
Of course, yeah.
So,
it's different.
that's the one thing I sort of discovered in life is, if you got a couple of bob, which luckily I have, I'm not loaded, but I'm not skint.
Yeah.
But a bit of money buys you space.
Yeah, that's what we all want.
And space gives you headspace, and you're not constantly having to be cheek by jowl with people you might not necessarily want to be,
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, but even so, where I live in an old Victorian house, but I've just got the bottom bit. But there's some blokes upstairs fucking bang around too much. I'd love to be able to afford to either buy them out or move somewhere where I haven't got somebody above me.
Yeah.
So
it always sounds like they're fucking rollerblading, doesn't it? I've lived in flats, and you're be watching the telly at night, and it sounds like they're bowling or they're doing something, like dragging a body around or something like that.
It sounds like that, and you pull them up on it, and they're going, well, we're not doing nothing, and they got some little fucking dog that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with dogs, but then of course, first thing in the morning, they got to bang it down the stairs to take it for a pee, and then at night they got to bang it downstairs to take it for a pee, and then bang up.
Yeah,
it's a little thing, but if you could afford a big house, you wouldn't have that.
No, of course, of course. It's funny talking about the van sitting on the equipment, because a lot of books I've read about all my favourite bands, and they all say, the best times were when we were in the van, we didn't have any money. It's freezing cold. I read Horace Panter's book, and he was saying that getting stuck in Paris and things like that. And I imagine looking back at those times, you go, it's that rose-coloured glasses. But at the time, like you've just said, must have been fucking horrible. Yeah,
but I didn't know any different. It was my first time out of London as a young man, sort of under my own steam. About your going away to see your grandma, your parents, or going to Butlins or something. It was interesting, but then there was the sort of friction with the characters.
Yeah. Well, that's it, innit? They're all very strong. All of you, strong characters in your own way.
That was kind of one of the strengths of the band as well.
Yeah. But I find that
it's like everybody around the world knows certain bands, all the members, and we were one of those bands. There's lots of bands. People might know the lead singer. Get no idea. I mean, I really like the Dave Clark Five, right?
Yeah.
Dave Clark, Mike Smith, the keyboard player. Who were the other blokes?
Oh yeah, no idea.
I know. Yeah, I liked them.
Yeah. Well, it's like
we did better than that.
Well, that's it, innit? Yeah. I haven't thought of it that way before. I remember seeing Spencer Davis Group in the Yardbirds, and that would have been early 2000s when they were. And that was the thing. I remember when the Yardbirds, like my dad growing up with those records, so I knew he was in them back when I was a kid. But going to see them again, they were both brilliant bands, but I couldn't tell you who was who. I didn't know who was in the band. I just knew they were both brilliant bands doing brilliant things. But
yeah,
like you say with this,
well, there you go. That's a brand name for you though as well. You know, a successful band becomes a brand name. You know, like Bird's Eye Peas or something, or Omo.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to Omo, but yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It becomes
But talking to Spencer Davis, you know, it was quite funny. I don't know, maybe about 15 years ago, I was walking down the Portobello Road, and this bloke went, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I thought, I'm not quite sure who you are, and you're not quite sure who I am. We're sort of a, you know, both musicians thing, and then walked away, and I looked over my shoulder and looked at him, and then I realised it was Stevie Winwood.
No.
I don't know if he thought I was me, or if he thought I was somebody else, you know. But that was kind of funny. I saw them actually at Reading Festival, 73, they were on the bill.
Oh, really?
No, good. That was a good lineup. I went to see the Alex Harvey Band in the Faces.
Oh, amazing.
Genesis, didn't go much on them. I saw Mahavishnu Orchestra, I saw Stackridge. I saw PFM, Stray were on. Any band that I think, I must have seen them somewhere. It was all at Reading Festival in 73.
Said it all in one weekend.
Clay Hamill. Yeah. Where's that Alex Harvey Band?
Yeah. Well, my
Status Quo.
Bloody hell. But that's it. My old man telling me about bands he used to go and see growing up in sort of South East London, Kent. And he'd have like John Lee Hooker playing the Orpington Civic Hall. He'd have The Who playing a bingo hall down the road. You know, all those, and we don't get that anymore, and that's the shame. You know, it's...
Yeah, but you never know. You might have the equivalent of somebody doing that. You don't know what, when the world turns in 20 years' time, people look and, you know, it's a new generation. I've got kids who are in bands and go to see bands, and they still get as excited as I used to about it. You know,
that's
maybe
true.
A bit shaded about it now. I mean, I tend to go and see bands that I can get them for free for, but it's normally because it's a mate playing or some mate who's got a little project going, and you go and support them. Gone are the days when I queue up for a ticket or go and see if Denzel's there. Who'll get
see if Denzel's...
Don't forget Denzel.
Denzel, mate. But I remember that the best times of my life was going to see bands when I was a kid. Going and seeing, you know, I've been to see The Damned a million times. You know, I remember watching did my one and only stage dive at an Exploited gig. Fucking idiot. But going to see these people, like I remember seeing Stevie Winwood at Shepherd's Bush Empire, and I was stood there next to Marcus Russell, you know, the Oasis manager. And I went, Oasis, nice work. I didn't really know what to say. I kind of looked thumbs up, all right, mate. And then watching Stevie Winwood, and he goes into Dear Mr. Fantasy, and then Marcus just appears next to me, and he goes, "Can't believe we're getting to watch him do this live." And it was one of the best moments of my life. And it's cool. And that's what I think. Music, I feel music is so important, and it needs. I think more people need to have access to it.
It's kind of gigs are like a rally. You know, it's like a rallying point, isn't it, for people?
Yeah.
I mean, I met some people, musicians and friends, long before the internet and stuff. You know, like Mick Jones and people, Tony James and Rat and all that, was by going to see bands that were kind of just prior to punk. It might have been a little bit different, and you kept seeing the same people.
Yeah.
You know, and you had nothing to do at home, or you didn't really have, you maybe still hadn't quite moved out yet, and you wanted to get out of the house as much as possible. So people would go and see a band, you know, like who sort of Hammersmith Gorillas or the Cannibals or somebody like that, who were kind of just before punk, or the Stranglers when they were really a pub rock band, you know, and you go there and there'd be like 30 people there, but 10 of those people would be the same people you'd see at another gig the next night, and you end up saying hi. And a lot of them went on to form bands, you know.
Yeah. What was the band that made you go, "I want to be a musician"? What was the one thing that made you go, "I want to do that"?
That probably was the Small Faces and the Faces.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That was a moment you went, "That's what I want to do." Yeah,
it wasn't like a sea change moment, but
no,
just kind of dug them, you know.
Yeah. And what was it like when you met when you were gonna like, because with the Pistols, did you sort of know each other already, or
no? Well, it's a bit of the long old stories that I'll just gloss over quick. But I was working at Malcolm McLaren's shop. Stephen Paul used to come in.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Basically, try and nick things. My job was stop them. I overheard them talking one day, and they wanted to get Malcolm involved somewhere. I don't know why. And he was sort of humouring him. He was going, "Oh, how's it going?" And Paul said, he said, "Well, I don't know, Malcolm. We're trying to take you seriously." And our bass player never turns up. And I'd not long got a bass guitar. I could strum the guitar a bit, and I got a bass. And then realised you play bass at home without an amplifier with nobody else. It's a bit like having a wank, you know. You need to play. That's true. You need to play with somebody else. I said, "Well,
yeah, cool."
I said, "Well, I play bass." And they went, "Do you?" I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Who's your favourite band?" And I said, "The Faces." And they went, "That's ours."
Fuck.
So I went and had to play with them. Then there was Wally, was the original guitarist, and Steve was the singer. And that was it, you know. So kind of funny, that got me the gig. And I mean, it's quite a while back now again, but you know, the last gig I did with the Faces, when I played with them, shame Rod Stewart didn't do it, but Mick Hucknall was pretty good, but it was still Kenny
that's
Jones,
right, yeah.
Ian McLagan, who was my mate, Ronnie, and Mick Hucknall was the singer. And we played in front of 50,000 people at the Fuji Festival, and it was the band that I used to stand in the mirror pretending I was in them. You know?
That must have been incredible. Did you have a moment when you were doing it? Did you have a moment where you just went, "Fucking hell, I can't believe this"?
Every time I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one other thing. When I was doing a bit of recording, they were looking at some old stuff, and they were changing the keys a little bit. And I was early there the second day, and I had to learn this song. And I knew they was going to change the key, but they weren't there to decide what key it should be. So I played along with the track that they'd recorded just before they split up.
Right.
And it was Kenny, Mac, and Ronnie doing it, with Rod Stewart doing the guy vocal.
Oh, right? My God.
You know, it's from like 1974 or something, and I'm playing, and I'm looking around and I want the whole world to see me, and it was just me and the engineer.
But what a moment. What a moment.
And it's good and all. So what's going to happen with it, I don't know.
No. And I saw like Rod was lined up to do it, and then sort of last minute he didn't, which is a shame, isn't it? I mean, I'm not knocking Mick.
Well, when I played with them,
yeah.
Yeah.
He just,
but I don't know. I know a little bit. I'm not going to go.
No, of course not. No, I wouldn't expect you to. But yeah, like when you say you've worked with all these people, Clem Burke and all these, you know, and you know Earl Slick and you look back and go, oh, this has been all right. I've actually had a blinder.
Well, yeah, but I mean, all those people you mentioned are good, but I've ended up playing them just because. They, over the years, they become mates, you know. I mean, I made a new record, and I've got my mate Chris Musto plays on most of it, but then I wrote a couple of new songs earlier this year. Chris weren't available. I've done something online with some people, some like charity record for the nurses. There's quite a few people involved in it. Tony Adley and Marcella Detroit.
Oh, wow.
Select played on it. Clem did the drums, and I had to go in the studio, you know, and it was lockdown. I'm thinking, well, how can I do it? So I said to Clem, I've got a couple of new songs. Need some drums on them. He said, I'll do it. He won't do nothing.
Oh, amazing.
So he recorded the drums in LA and sent them over, and then I just did all the guitars myself, and they got me mate to play some keyboard on it. It was, you know, I wouldn't have asked him if he couldn't keep time, but he can, and he's a mate. You know, and if he wanted some, and then he asked me to do a couple of things. I put some bass on things, Yeah, it's just kind of what goes round comes round, kind of thing.
And it's nice, but that's it. I mean, that's it. You love the music that much, like you're still creating, you're still
not
doing
always.
it. Not always.
Some of it's all right, yeah. What do you think? It's all right, you know. Anarchy in UK, it's all right, you know. It's all right if you like that kind of thing.
But do you find, like with songwriting, do you have to because you don't sit there and go, right, today I'm going to write a song. Do you have to wait for it to come to you?
I don't bother doing that.
No.
If an idea comes, it comes, and I don't even do anything. I get most of my ideas walking down the street.
Yeah.
And then, you know, a little snippet of a tune, or you see something, it gets your mind thinking, you get a lyric in the tune. And I don't even, maybe I'm lazy, I don't know. But I also know that if I want to write a catchy song, if you can't remember it, how do you expect anybody else to? Right. And when those ideas don't go away and they keep coming back to you, that's the time to pick up the guitar and then start working it out properly.
Right.
That's kind of what I do, you know. And then luckily, these days you've got this home recording thing. I've got a little computer studio at home that's kind of good enough.
Yeah.
You know, more than good enough. It would be even better if I was better at it. I know how to play, but engineering is a skill in itself, you know, like being a guitar player or a keyboard player. It's just an aptitude. But I'll get through and it gets you to the next stage, you know, and you can work out. And I've got a bit of a limited voice, so I can play around with the keys and the key that the song's in. And you get there eventually. And by the time you've done that quite a lot, you got enough songs for an album.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happens. And that's how I've got a new album to come out. But, you know, then you got that. And then you think, right, all these songs work. Oh, that one's rubbish. That one's good. That's kind of all right. Maybe I'll have the first half of that with the middle eight from that one and then go back. You do a bit of that, and then you go and record it properly. So I've actually got a brand new album in the can.
Lovely.
It's going to come out early next year. And I'm just about to sign quite a good record deal with a big label.
Oh, amazing.
Will be announced very soon. So.
Oh, lovely. That's really nice.
Yeah, I'm in a good place, really. You know.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And do you have complete control over the album, like what tracks go on it? Because I know when you get mixed, from what I gather, when you start getting mixed up with labels and other people start meddling, or are you sort of like now you're in a position where it's all about you?
At the moment, I think it's mainly my decision, but there's no point expecting somebody to kind of work your record to the best of their ability if they're not up for it. So it's kind of good to encourage a bit of input from them, you know. I mean, at the moment I've got 14 songs recorded. Probably only need 12 or even 10 for an album. Hey, what do you think? You know, what do you think? What's your best 10 out of these 14? You know, should we keep this one back for a single, or should we do? Yeah, you know, and I don't really know because sometimes you're too close to it and you can't see the wood for the trees. You know, so.
I suppose so. Yeah. Do you like is that? Yeah. So when you're putting a track list together, you can you kind of feel. You can feel if a song doesn't fit in amongst it all.
Yeah, you can do that. And what I was fortunate enough to work with Mick Ronson, he produced the Rich Kids, and when we was doing the running order, he said we should do what Bowie does. And he said, what? He said, well, you write all the titles down on strips of paper and you just move it around until it looks right. You know, like cut-ups. Kind of.
Yeah.
And I do that when I'm writing lyrics sometimes. Not a lot. I think just random lyrics is bollocks, which kind of Bowie did a bit. I mean, he wrote some great songs, but some of them about spacemen and all that.
There is a bit of that. Sometimes you listen to something and you go, you're just singing that because it rhymes with what you've just sung.
Yeah.
You know,
And he came up with some very clever rhymes, but not all of them.
No.
I like my songs to be like I'm having a conversation with somebody. But sometimes when you start, you know, have a good line there and you've got a good line there. But you've really got to get on with it because you set yourself a deadline or you got one and you're stuck. Sometimes things like that help you, you know, and you can see that it starts to make sense, you know.
Yeah. Do you still listen to a lot of music, like other people's? Or not really, not really bothered?
No, it don't mean I don't listen to music because you can't turn on the TV, you can't go into the supermarket, you can't walk into a shoe shop without some music around it, you know.
Yeah.
So you hear it. You know, if I'm going to put a record on, I'd like to put something tried and tested on. You know, Mose Allison or Jacques Brel or Scott Walker or The Faces or Dave Clark Five. Yeah. I got my record little dance set out the other day and found all my singles from when I was a kid. You know,
oh wow,
Glad All Over and Twist and Shout EP, and I've still got them.
There's just something about, I know vinyl's had a big resurgence now, and I love my vinyl, but there is just something about the sound of it that
it sounds better. And do you know what? I did up my flat ages ago, and I stripped all my gear down. And in fact, it wasn't the last time I did it up. It was about 10 years before that, and I've got a nice old quad system. You know, the quads make, and it's kind of good. But I haven't even really plugged it in because years ago I bought an old TV. A flat screen, one of the first flat screen TVs when the price had come down, and it's got built-in speakers and it sounds fantastic. So I actually plugged my dance set into the TV. It's great.
Oh,
and it's that good. When the neighbours annoy me, it really annoys them, and it's only halfway up.
So
attitude shouldn't fuck around with me.
So after all this time, there's still that.
And they go, "That's too loud." I go, "Only watching. It's only the TV."
Yeah.
You wait until I get my 100-watt Marshall stack out. Yeah, you wait until I get my quad system out.
See, it's still in you. That
if that's what you want, that's what will happen.
Imagine that your neighbour was a Sex Pistol, and you're telling him, fuck that. Yeah, don't fuck about with that.
But it's funny. I was having an ongoing. There's a people upstairs. There's some French woman next door. We'll chat 8 o'clock in the morning. Right. She's probably calling her sister back in the south of France where it's an hour ahead. And I've told her so many times. So the Jazz FM goes on really loud and I go out for the day. But about a year and a half ago, I was sitting there. Slick was staying there. And I was sitting on a step outside. It was quite a nice day. Who's walking the dog over the road? Ronnie Wood and his missus. I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "That's where I live." I told him. "Oh, he's having a cup of tea." And he went, "Oh." I said, "Slick's in there." And he went, "Really?" So we go in the garden, have a cup of tea with them and their dog. And then the new neighbour who goes, "Ooh." It's like, "What?"
See, I love things like that. They're just, I mean, you see Ronnie Wood and Glen Matlock and sitting there in the garden having a cup of tea.
And they'll Slick.
Yeah. Well, it's just because you're, I know, like you said, again, everyone's got to be somewhere, but because we know who you are, you are on another level. So to see you in that environment doing something like buying a pint of milk or having a cup of tea, it's just that. It's just something that we don't expect you to do. It's fucking.
Well, I'll tell you a funny little story. I was, I don't know, maybe at the end of Filthy Look, but I was flying back from Los Angeles, and you can, because it's hot, you can check in outside. Yeah. And then luckily, I was in the business class, the first class queue, and there was some bloke next to me, but I didn't say who it was, and I thought, wow, that's a nice suit. It was like a $2,000 suit, and I could only see him from his shoulders. And I sort of, without wanting to be seen that I was looking at, I slowly looked down, see what shoes he's wearing. Fucking tartan carpet slippers. And I thought, well, that's weird. So I slowly looked back up again, got past the shoulder, out the corner of my fucking Ben Hur, right? It's Charlton Heston.
No.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, wow, I'm in the queue next to Ben Hur, and carpet slippers on. It's the same kind of thing, really. Yeah.
I remember I came back through, I was in Heathrow coming back from wherever, and they get them buggies that they ferry people through, and you hear them beeping as they come through. So
I'm really looking forward to that in a few years.
Well, get on this. I can hear it coming behind me, and it's beep, beep, beep. So I step out of the way. As it goes past, it's Dr. John on the back of this buggy, like facing back, and he's got his stick like that, and he's just exactly how you'd imagine Dr. John would ride one of those things, and it blew my fucking head off to see just sitting there, Dr. John of all people. But it was amazing. It's amazing. This has been amazing as well, Glenn. I want to say thank you for taking the time.
I enjoyed chatting. I always enjoy talking about myself.
Well, it's nice to get. This is the thing, like I say, like people know who you are, but they don't know you, and it's nice to hear a little bit more about you, the person.
Yeah, a little bit more. There's some dark stuff in there, one day will come up, but not yet.
Save it for the next book.
Maybe. But I'm a firm believer. I mean, my book is not really an autobiography. It's my time in the Sex Pistols. But some other people have written not one autobiography, but 2 or 3. And I don't know how you can have 3 different life stories.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Or when you see new people come, they've only been in the public eye like a year, and then they write one, and you go, you ain't done anything.
Yeah, but do you know what I've got on the side? I got for Christmas in about 1968. Rodney Marsh, Shooting to the Top. And he was only probably about 24 when he wrote that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I suppose so. But maybe get someone else to, maybe if it's that dark, maybe make it get it all ready for
I'm
you
only kidding.
when you pass
it's
on.
moments, but it's not that.
Do you know what? We're all humans, though, aren't we? We all do fucking shit things now and again. You know, it's just who we are. You know?
Yeah.
As long as we don't do them all the time.
Yeah. As long as we learn from our mistakes.
Absolutely, Glenn. This has been lovely. When's the album coming out?
It's going to be... We might pull a single just before Christmas, but it's looking a bit doubtful now. I want to get something out soon because there's stuff on it that's been about where we're at now in a way that I think, But somehow I was worried about missing the boat, but I think the way things are going, I don't think I will miss the boat topically, which is a shame. So it'll probably be out early in the new year. In the meantime, I'm doing the gigs. Perhaps you can help me get some people down to Tunbridge Wells.
I think we can do that. That'd be lovely.
Also mention the 100 Club, a striking distance of Tunbridge Wells, which is a full band show, you know.
That'd be an incredible gig.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to the Tunbridge Wells thing. I heard it's a nice place. I haven't been there before, but I quite like doing my one-man show. And, you know, I can talk about things between. It's a bit more all encompassing and you know, people shout out for things and I don't have to worry about whether the keyboard player knows how it goes and I can have a go at it and it kind of works great, and if it don't, turn it into a laugh. Yes.
Well, that's it. It's all part of the show. Because that's what makes the greatest shows, is that those moments. It's not necessarily like banging out the tunes, it's the moments that you probably won't see again.
Do you know what? A few years back when I'm going to leave you with this one. I opened up for Mock the Hoople when they was doing like 5 nights at Emma Stody in the ship with Bush Empire or something, and they asked me to do it, and I thought, oh great, I won't have to bother about the guest list.
Yeah.
Then I got 500 quid for it, and just me, and I did it. I did 2 numbers, and then I realised there's like kind of 3,500 people. I'm on the stage at Hampton Road with me and my guitar. I'm like, ugh. But when I went down to the sound check, right, opened the door to go in, they were doing their sound check. They just finished playing All the Young Dudes, and they started playing Saturday gigs. Do you remember the Saturday gigs? We do. Do you remember the Saturday gigs? We do. And then it all fell apart because there's another bit coming and they couldn't remember how it went.
Oh, mate.
So I thought, yes.
So that's the shit like that I love. Is that,
I like it.
But Glenn, thank you so much, mate.
All right, mate.
This has been a real pleasure, and we'll let you get on with your day. Yeah, this is coming out tonight, so you know.
All right.
I think we'll be. I can't tell you how happy I am to have got a proper chat with you.
All right, mate.
Nice
there
one.
You go.
Thanks, Glenn.
Come to the show. You better. There'll be trouble.
Yeah, we'll be there. Nice one, Glenn. Yeah, lovely. All right, Glenn. Thank you, mate.
See you later.
Take it easy.
Thanks, Glenn.
Right.
Cheers.
Bye.